Hi, everybody. I'm Jay Privman, along with Marty McGee. We do the Derby Watch here every week at DRF.com. And Marty, let's take a preview at the big point-scoring race for this weekend. It's the Louisiana Derby. It's the first of what's currently scheduled to be the final round of prep races, 170 points overall and 100 for first. But Churchill Downs, in delaying the Derby now till September 5th, has announced that there will be other races that will be added for points. What those values will be and what those races will be are to be determined. But this is obviously a significant race, and there are 3 horses currently in our Derby Watch top 20, actually 4 horses, I should say, in our Derby Watch top 20 who are in this race, those being Enforcible, Major Fed, and Modernist, all of whom come off races last time out at Fairgrounds. So let's start with those horses before we show video of a couple other horses in this race. Enforcible is a horse that I really like, and one of the things I liked about his last race, Marty, in the division of the Risen Star that he was in, was that he had to make 2 moves during the race. He was far back early, he made a move down the backstretch to get position, sat there for a while, and then I thought finished up the race really well. What are your thoughts on Enforcible?
Well, Mark Casse has said for weeks, if not months now, that he really thought that he was ahead of all the other trainers in terms of how fit this horse was, and that's all obviously going to go out the window as the months now to the Kentucky Derby unfold. So he's kind of lost that edge. Nonetheless, toward this race, Enforcible clearly likes Fairgrounds. He trains down there with David Carroll for Mark Casse. He won the Lecomte. He ran the good race, as you said, in the Risen Star. And you would certainly think that with all the speed in this race, in this edition of the Louisiana Derby, it would set up to a closer like him, especially since he gets the extra 16th of a mile at a mile and 3/16. So he kind of reminds me, Jay, of kind of a slug-up type. He just grinds along, doesn't have a serious flash of speed of foot, but you would think that he would certainly be able to get a part of this race and then move forward from this toward whatever Mark and whatever Churchill Downs has for extra races as we go through the summer toward the Derby.
Yeah, certainly an unprecedented situation right now. So Enforcible comes out of one division of the Risen Star. 2 other horses in this race are on our Derby Watch top 20 that come out of another division of the Risen Star, and those are Modernist and Major Fed. They ran 1-2 in that division. Marty, I thought this was the weaker of the 2. I thought Modernist got away with a fairly soft pace. The Buyer Fig didn't come back all that well, but it's Bill Mott, who we know can get a horse ready, and now he's got even more time to get a horse ready for a major target. And Major Fed's a horse that I know you've been a little bit higher on than I have, so give me your thoughts on those 2 horses.
Well, Modernist, a couple of things about him, and what's going to be so different than the division of the Risen Star that he won is, A, he has to start from post 14 as opposed to post 1. And there's also quite a bit of speed in here against him, Jay, with Wells Bayou, Silver State, New York Traffic. This race, more than any so far on the Derby trail, mimics the Kentucky Derby in that there's going to be a bulky field and they're going a longer distance. So I think if he is able to overcome this, he's a serious Derby horse. As you wrote this week in Daily Racing Form from Bill Mott, he's not really going to change up his schedule to this point. What he does for the next 4.5 months or whatever, that remains to be seen for him and all the others. But again, if he is to come through this race, he's done something, I think.
And then as for Major Fed, like I said, you've been a little bit higher on him than I have. Tell me what you like about him.
Well, that's the Foley boys. I mean, they're gung-ho about racing, so I'm kind of pulling for them just personally. But, he was right alongside an Odor, who was the favorite in that division of the Risen Star. And from the 3/8 pole home, an Odor went one way and Major Fed went the other way, and he was the only real threat at the end to Modernist. So I thought it was a very creditable race. It was his first time really trying those kinds of horses, and if he were to run good here in the Louisiana Derby, I think you'd have to consider him a major threat also.
One of the horses that you referenced a bit ago about being part of the expected pace is Wells Bayou, who will be running at Fairgrounds after making his most recent start at Oaklawn in the Southwest Stakes. And Marty, this was an improved performance, I thought, on the part of Wells Bayou in terms of how fast the pace was early, how well he ran, how far he was in front of the rest of the field when settling for second. And I have the utmost respect for his trainer, Brad Cox. So he looks to me like he's a major player in here. The question being, what about the distance for him? What do you think?
What about the distance? What about the other speeds in here, like we've mentioned, Silver
Right.
State, New York Traffic, Modernist, and also the fact that he was beaten, that the fact that Silver Prospector got a good trip last weekend, Jay, in the Rebel and just was nowhere to be found at the end. That does not flatter Wells Bayou. So I think he might have a tough time here Saturday.
And a horse who's shipping in from California is Royal Act. He's the final horse that's on our Derby Watch top 20 at the moment. This is a horse who they really wanted to get into this race, Marty, and going up to entry time, there was a possibility he wasn't even going to get in to the race. But when Ajawi did not enter, Royal Act was able to get in. So he is in the field, and it was good for him because the backup plans that they had for him were the Sunland Derby and the Bluegrass Stakes, both of which went away. So in terms of getting into a race, it all fell well for Royal Act. He comes off a second place finish behind 1,000 Words in the Robert Lewis. I thought, Marty, on the day it was a good performance on his part. It was his first time on dirt. He's by American Pharoah. I thought he ran a good race. But boy, the way 1,000 Words came back and ran at his next start gives you a little bit of apprehension going into this for me. What do you think of him?
Yeah, it certainly does. I was going to say that he too was not flattered by the horse who beat him in his prior race. But if you watch the replay, he really did close nicely. Peter Urton has obviously another contender in Storm the Court. He's hoping to advance with 2. And Aja Weed, by the way, he runs in the Florida Derby a week from Saturday here at Gulfstream Park. So I'm kind of skeptical about Royal Act, but this is a very deep field, Jay. I think whoever emerges from this is going to be at or near the top of the totem pole, as we still have more than 4 months toward the Kentucky Derby.
Well, that's our look at the Louisiana Derby. 170 points on the line with 100 to the winner this Saturday at Fairgrounds. Also here at DRF.com, you'll find a recap of last week's big races, the Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn and an allowance race at Santa Anita that was won by Charlatan. Marty and I analyzed those races as well. And we'll be here as we go on this elongated road to the Kentucky Derby. For Marty McGee, I'm Jay Privman. Thanks for watching.